Hey folks, Them here. In today's incredible tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can make custom puzzles using Bezier curves in Blender. Bezier curves are incredibly powerful and often overlooked, and I'm going to show you how you can manipulate them to make these awesome cut puzzle pieces so you can gift someone or, make your own custom puzzle pieces. You can also use my other tutorials to add whatever patterns and designs or anything you want on top of this puzzle so they all sync together. Anyway, without further ado, let's dive right into the build. Alright folks, let's start by firing up Blender, saying hello to our old friend the default cube before swiftly hitting X and deleting our old friend the default cube. And now to add insult to injury, we are going to hit Shift A and we're actually going to bring in another cube. The reason I'm doing that is because right down here we have this little menu, so I can very quickly just resize this to 15 centimeters wide, because that is how wide I want my internal puzzle. Now I'm also going to scale this on the z-axis right down, and this is going to be the thickness of my puzzle as well. So you can make this as thick as you like, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to make mine thin just so I don't use too much filament when I print this. And there we have it. There is our the shape of our puzzle, as most puzzles are, square or rectangular or whatever. Now, hit numpad 7 to go into top orthographic mode. Now, this is really important. We're going to be in top orthographic mode for most of this because as we add things to our scene to cut our puzzle pieces, we want to make sure that they're coming in basically strictly on the X and Y axis. We don't want it moving up and down on the Z axis because that's going to be a real pain. And you'll see that now as we add in our first Bezier curve. Now, Bezier curves are how we're going to divide up this puzzle. This tutorial is basically allows you to make a puzzle while learning about Bezier curves, something that in this tutorial series we haven't touched before. And I think is a tool just genuinely in Blender that a lot of people sleep on, but is really, really powerful. So let's add our first Bezier curve and talk a little bit more about them. Okay, so what is a Bezier curve and why is it important? Well, right now we have this box in our scene, which is made up of a mesh, which means it is made up of vertices, these little points here, these lines, and these faces. Now, a Bezier curve operates very differently because a Bezier curve is made up of basically mathematical distances. So if I bring in a Bezier curve right now, so let's bring in our first here, go Shift A, curve, and then Bezier curve, you'll see that I get this big curved line here. Now I'm going to scale this right down. I'm going to grab it on the X and bring it over here so it's nice and small. And you'll see that we have this it comes in as a curved shape. Now if I go into edit mode, you'll see here that I have these two handles here. Now, this is the difference. Basically what this does is it works out the angles of the handles and it creates a curve using, basically mathematical formulas to create a really smooth curve. And it doesn't really have any size data in there. It just has like curvature data essentially. When you're working in Illustrator or if you've ever worked with an SVG, this is all curve data rather than vertices data. So you can essentially make it as large or as small as you want, and it's never going to lose any of its definition. So what this means is we can create really smooth looking things in our scenes. Like this is perfect for wires or pipes, or even in animation when you want to have a camera follow a really smooth path, you can have it follow a Bezier curve. Most of the time you will have it doing that. Now for us, what it's going to be great for is cutting out really interesting puzzle piece shapes. So yeah, I thought it'd be a really simple way to use a Bezier curve to demonstrate how powerful they are and how much they work. So making sure again you're in top orthographic mode. What I'm going to do actually is come out of the curve, select this cube and hit G to grab it on the Z, and let's bring it down just a little bit so we can see the X and Y axis. That way we will be able to see our Bezier curves on top of it. So starting with this and grabbing it, scale it quite far down, and then we're going to grab this point here. And much like we would do with our lines or our vertices, we're going to use E to extrude it and just add another piece of curve. Now what I'm going to do is kind of following along here. I am just going to make a lined shape, boop, boop, like this by just extruding and then going all the way Hold shift here. If you ever come out of top orthographic, make sure you put it back in by hitting 7 on the numpad. And just keep, I'm gonna actually extrude a little bit further like so. And then I'm gonna grab the whole thing and I'm gonna scale it down and then grab it on the X axis. So it's just coming on over either side. And you'll see here that I now have this Bezier curve that I can manipulate by grabbing these individual points and moving them around. I can scale them, which widens the handle. I can rotate them, which rotates the handle. And yeah, you'll see that each of these points is controlled by a different handle, which allows us to work out the shape data between those 2 points. Really, really cool. So while I have this as a very simple line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this on the y-axis and bring it up to about here. And then I'm going to duplicate that on the y and bring another one down here to start dividing up our puzzle. Now, I'm going to select all 3 of these, and then I'm going to duplicate, rotate on the Z 90 degrees. Oh, didn't duplicate. Control Z. Let's try that again. Shift, duplicate. There we go. Rotate it 90 on the Z. And there, that did not work either. Give me 1 second. Duplicate. There we go. Rotate 90 on the Z. Cool. Solving problems in real time, folks. And then we're going to bring this to where we kind of want it to make it look, you know, like our each individual puzzle pieces. Now we can move these around a little bit, just shape it out, make it a bit more interesting. And that is essentially our basic shape with our basic Bezier curves. But now we can start cutting out and adding in, you know, little bits of interest to make all these lines a bit more interesting, to make this puzzle you know, feel like more of an interesting puzzle. I mean, if we went on from now, it would be a puzzle, but it would be a very simple puzzle. So yeah. And another thing to note, you can make this puzzle as large or as small as you want. You know, if you wanted it to have more, you know, more puzzle pieces, you can just, you know, duplicate these as you want to add in as many pieces of whatever shape. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to keep it, what's this, like 4 by 4. Yeah, let's move on to manipulating these Bezier curves to make our interesting puzzle pieces, and we'll do that right now. So with all of your Beziers in place, and making sure again that we're in top orthographic. If you're ever freaked out about that, just hit that 7. Just keep tapping that 7, making sure we're there. Okay, great. What I want to do now is holding Shift, we're going to select all of these lines, all 6 of them. And then we're going to go into edit mode. So we have all of these points. And now we can start manipulating these to make our puzzle pieces a bit more interesting. So for example, this one, I'm going to grab him out and I'm going to scale. Oop, not so much. Whoa, look at him. Let's zoom in a little bit, scale him out a little bit. I'm going to move him in and move him in. And now we have a puzzle piece. You see, this is so much easier and so much quicker to iterate and work with Bezier curves than it would be trying to do this as a mesh by extruding and trying to get a nice smooth shape, which we know we'd have to use a subdivision surface modifier, and it would become very, very complicated. Whereas here you can see I can do this just by scaling and moving. Grab, scale it up, and then grab these in. And because I am in top orthographic mode, it is naturally staying on the X and Y axis, meaning that it's not, you know, moving this up and down on the Z axis. So yeah, you can see how quickly we can get a puzzle forming. So I'm just going to keep doing this, and you know, you can also, but you can rotate these if you want to make it look however you would like. You know, there we go. Grab him maybe up here. Rotate this one, make the puzzle pieces, you know, as interesting, as simple, or as interesting as you like. Now, if that ever happens, don't worry about it. Just get a little bit closer. It all depends on the scaling depends on how far your mouse is away from the thing that you're trying to scale and your overall distance in the scene. So cool. This is looking pretty good. Oh, accidentally came out of orthographic. Spam that 7. Perfect. Okay, fixing it. There we go. I'm going to scale this. I'm going to bring this guy in here. Scale him out like this. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. And you get the idea. Just Bezier curves using that shape data that, you know, and using mathematical formulas to create curvature it makes this kind of thing so much easier. Now, if you were making something that had pipes or wires or anything like that, you know, or hair or, you know, simple hair, there's other tools for making hair, but, you know, something that has this kind of interesting shape, even in your art, you can create really, really cool things very, very quickly. I mean, you can see how quickly I am putting all this together. This is happening in real time. Boop. That's looking pretty good. I think let's get this one up here, bring him down here, make this one like this, put him in there, grab him, whoop, scale that, whoop, whoop. Yep, scale this one up, scale, move this one in. And that is looking pretty good to me. Okay, awesome. Now, we have all of these Bezier curves, which is great, but how are we going to use those to manipulate this tray beneath it? Well, now we need to convert these Bezier curves from their shape data into mesh data so we can manipulate it with our other mesh. And that's super easy to do. So let's do that right now. Okay, so first what we're going to do is we're going to click on this one by one, and we're going to convert it to a mesh. Convert to mesh, convert to mesh, and then this one here, convert to mesh, convert to mesh, convert to mesh. So now when you look into them, if I click on one, whoop, whoop, zoom in there. There you go. Now when you click on one and I hit one, you'll see here that it has all the individual, it's just worked out that shape and just created a mesh so it can, you know, follow the shape that we created. So now that we've done that, we can grab them all, not the bottom tray, grab them all. And if we go into edit mode, hit Shift A, and then we're going to extrude this on the Z-axis. And we're going to do it until it slices through that the bottom cube or the bottom mesh that we have there. And as you can see, you can kind of see what I'm going to do now. I'm going to use this shape data to essentially cut out our puzzle. But we won't be able to do that until we do a few more steps. Now, what we need to do on each of these Bezier curves is add a Solidify modifier, and we're going to bring the thickness to 2 centimeters. Now, hard to see. Actually, let's do it as 3 centimeters. Now, if I zoom in, you'll see now that this one has some thickness. If you look at the others, they're just essentially a plane, but these ones are now have some actual thickness to them. And what we can do is just go around and do that same thing on all 6. So Solidify modifier, make the thickness 3, and then next, generate Solidify thickness 3, boom. You can see as I do it, they slightly change. Solidify, and this is just because what we're going to do is use the Boolean modifier to use these shapes to cut out the puzzle pieces. And if we don't have a little bit of thickness to it, the Boolean modifier does not work properly. So there we go, Solidify, even thickness 3. Boom. Okay, cool. Now they all have a little bit of thickness. Now, holding this plane, we are going to add a bunch of Boolean modifiers, 6, because we have the 6 different Beziers that we converted into meshes. So to cut those out, we're going to add 6 Booleans. So let's start by adding all 6 of those modifiers in here. Like 1, 2, 3. Scary how quickly I lost count there. Okay, there we go, 6 in there. And now in here, where it says object, we can just add these one by one, making sure that it's set to difference and exact. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're counting up to 5 because the first one is just Bezier curve. So Bezier curve, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. Now, if we select our bottom mesh and we hit the / button, you should see now that we have all these beautiful cuts where our puzzle pieces lie. How awesome is that? So there is now a gap. Excellent. So that's pretty much it. Well, what we can do is build a real quick case for this just to hold it together, which I'm going to do right now. And then, yeah, then all we have to do is send this off to the printer, and it's pretty much finished. That you've used Bezier curves to create your own puzzle. Okay, let's make a quick case for this and then talk a little bit more about it. Okay, if you're following my tutorial series, making a case for this should be an absolute breeze for you now because you've done this a million times. But so just make sure that we're in object mode. Boop, there we go. We're going to add in a mesh, and we'll add in a plane. And we know that we can make this 15.5. So it's just a little bit bigger than than our puzzle. And let's bring this just below the puzzle. We can check that by going into 3. And then grab it, bring it up like so, then come into top orthographic again. Cool. And we can hit I to inset a face and just inset it so it just hugs the puzzle. Great. Then 3, and we can grab those faces, tap Alt, hold Alt, and then hit near one of those edges to do that move. So we grab just those edge faces, and let's extrude those on the Z-axis. So we're just above the puzzle, so it'll fit in there neatly. Nice. Then with 2, we can grab this edge, hold Alt to grab all of this edge, and let's just grab it down just a little bit so it's just a little bit further down from our puzzle. And then if we hit F to create a face, and there we have it. We now have a tray, and we have our puzzle pieces that can sit in that tray. And of course, you can make this as complicated or as simple as you want just by adding Bezier curves and extending and twisting around to make it a more interesting shape. But that is pretty much it, folks. I'm going to fire this off on the printer. Let's see how it looks. And yeah, hopefully you learned something new today. And there you have it, folks, a fully custom puzzle made using Bezier curves. Isn't that incredible? I really hope you've enjoyed picking up this new skill. Bezier curves are often overlooked in Blender, and they're so powerful. So yeah, I can't wait to see what you make using these new techniques and new skills. And of course, using the other tutorials that I have in my videos right here, you can add whatever you want to the front of this, designing it to make it look however you like. And you can make this puzzle as large as you like as well. So anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed this. As always, I've been Copper Thumb. You've been awesome. I'll see you in the next one.